You just realized that you needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed-sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people that you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, with Indeed-sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? Well, in the minute I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Just go to Indeed.com/BWN right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Hey, if you're like me, you don't exactly have a ton of time to shop for clothes. My wife is the same way, and she has introduced me to Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix is great. You just take a quick style quiz, share your size, your vibe, your budget, and boom, you're matched with a real human stylist who handles the rest. Stitch Fix sends you a fix box with clothes that actually fit and make sense for your life, work, weekends, whatever. Stitch Fix saves you time, you look great, and you don't even have to think about it. And Stitch Fix is no risk, all style. Try Stitch Fix clothes in the comfort of your home. Keep what works, send back the rest. Free shipping and returns always, and no subscription required. Plus, get a free try-on for your first fix. Get started today at StitchFix.com/podcast to get $20 off your first order, and Stitch Fix will waive your styling fee. That's StitchFix.com/podcast. And away we go. Episode 1155 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Monday, September 15th, 2025. It is the day on which Commanders head coach Dan Quinn is expected to speak to reporters for the first time since his post-game press conference following the 27-18 loss at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football this past Thursday night. And there is a lot for him to discuss, including injuries. A lot of injuries for the Commanders in the game. We, over the last few days, have gotten reports that running back Austin Ekeler and edge defender Deatrich Jr. are, in fact, done for the season due to their injuries. There's also this. Quarterback Jayden Daniels, per multiple reports over the last few days, is dealing with a knee issue of some kind. Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4, he on Sunday afternoon on X had this on the Jayden Daniels knee situation. Quote, "From what I hear, there are some concerns, but not major. I expect news from DQ, if not before, and Jayden will likely miss some prax time," end quote. Prax, P-R-A-X, as in practice. Jayden Daniels did play on 100% of the Commanders' offensive snaps in the loss at the Packers. Remember, too, that Daniels on the Commanders' injury reports in the lead-up to the game was listed as dealing with a right wrist ailment, but he had no injury designation for this game. So there is a good bit to get to with Dan Quinn on Monday, including, oh, by the way, the team's rather poor performance at the Packers. Hello and welcome to this Monday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, on which we talk Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. This is the podcast that follows Washington, D.C. area sports so that you don't have to. This is a podcast for which there is a new episode each weekday, Monday through Friday, with each episode out by 5 a.m. Eastern, and often much earlier than that. Next segment, high-level, all-22 style analysis of the Commanders, as I'll speak with Commanders analyst Mark Bullock of Bullock's Film Room, which you can find at markbullock.substack.com. Mark will address how the Commanders might replace Austin Ekeler and Deatrich Wise. Mark will explore the extent to which the loss at the Packers was a coaching loss. Offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury and defensive coordinator Joe Whitt Jr., did they fail the Commanders this past Thursday night? Mark will reveal the Commanders' offensive lineman who is struggling the most right now. Spoiler alert, the player is not right tackle Josh Conerly Jr., despite him taking a lot of grief. All of that and more with Mark Bullock next segment. Also on the show, lots of conversation about the FBS teams of the Mid-Atlantic region off Week 3 of the 2025 college football season, including reaction to the big Virginia Tech news. Tech fell to 0-3 overall with an embarrassing 45-26 loss to Old Dominion at Lane Stadium in Blacksburg, Virginia on Saturday night. And Tech on Sunday afternoon announced having fired head coach Brent Pry. I'll also discuss wins for Maryland, Navy, and Virginia, and another loss for Liberty. And on the show, we'll talk Nationals and Orioles. The Nats, they over the weekend won 2 out of 3 games against the Pittsburgh Pirates at Nationals Park. The O's, they over the weekend got swept in 3 games at the Toronto Blue Jays, who have the best record in the American League. Before we get to some feedback, a few items on the top 2 teams of the empire of Monumental Sports and Entertainment founder, chairman, managing partner, and CEO Ted Leonsis, the Capitals and Wizards. So the Caps rookie camp is taking place. Started on Friday, is ending on Monday, is taking place in Annapolis, Maryland. 2025 Capitals training camp starts this Thursday. That's happening at MedStar Capitals Iceplex in Arlington, Virginia. And the Caps' first game in the NHL's 2025 preseason is this Sunday evening. Caps at the Boston Bruins Sunday evening at 5. So Cap season is starting. And with the Wizards, very bad news. The Wizards on Friday afternoon announced that Bilal Coulibaly on Friday underwent a surgical procedure to repair a ligament tear in his right thumb. The injury was sustained during FIBA Eurobasket play with the French national team. And when it comes to a timeline for Coulibaly, quote, Koulibaly's recovery status will be updated as appropriate, end quote. I did not like reading that. Nothing specific on a timetable for recovery. Quote, Koulibaly's recovery status will be updated as appropriate, end quote. Bilal Coulibaly last regular season played in just 59 of the Wizards' 82 games. He suffered what turned out to be a season-ending right hamstring injury in the Wizards' 119-104 loss at the Toronto Raptors last March 10th. And Coulibaly in his 2023-2024 rookie regular season played in just 63 of the Wizards' 82 games. The Wizards on March 18th, 2024 announced that he was done for the season due to a right wrist fracture. Look, the Wizards' this coming NBA season, again, will be tanking, but Bilal Coulibaly is a key piece in the rebuild. You want him healthy and playing and developing, and it's disturbing that he, during his NBA career, already has had 3 major injuries, although he is so young. This coming season, it'll be just his age 21 season. But if you're like me and have been a Bullet/Wizards fan for a while, this announcement about Bilal Coulibaly having undergone surgery on Friday continues what seemingly is an annual tradition with our team. The team shortly before training camp or regular season announcing that a player has an injury and or has undergone surgery. There over the years have been so many of these announcements from this team, and we now have another such announcement.
The damn Washington Wizards.
Exactly. Thank you, ESPN Stephen A. Smith. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me, the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Lots of feedback on the Commanders off their loss at the Packers. Email from Marlon G. Writes Marlon, hey Al, well that was a horrible game. Jaden truly holding on to the ball longer than last year, and then late decisions to try to run. He looked like he hurt his knee. He should have been yanked out of the game to protect him from injury. Players were going down left and right, and he's the last person we need injured. The Packers had 2 offensive linemen out, and our pass rush still couldn't do anything. Lattimore is the new Benjamin St. Juice. Good for 2 penalties a game. Thank you for the email, Marlon. Cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, he now has played in 7 regular season and postseason games for the Commanders. 2 games last regular season, 3 games last postseason, and 2 games this regular season. Lattimore, over those 7 games, has totaled 10 penalties, all of which have been accepted. 10 penalties in 7 games. Ridiculous. Email from Thomas. Writes Thomas, Al, Jaden looks like the rookie he wasn't last year. Confused and tentative. His passes are often late and off target. But WTF was DQ thinking on the team's last drive before the half? He had 3 timeouts and used none. Also, when is Joe Whitt Jr. on the hot seat? Has Frankie Louvu forgotten how to tackle? Thanks, Al. You're the best. Well, thank you for that, Thomas. I'm glad that Thomas brought up linebacker Frankie Louvu. He was so good last season. He has not looked good so far this season. Louvu, over the Commanders' 2 games this regular season, has played on 100% of the team's defensive snaps, but his overall grade per Pro Football Focus is just 53.7. Not good. 60 is average. And I can't think of one significant play that Louvu has made. Now, he was part of a very good team defensive performance in the 21-6 win over the New York Giants at Northwest Stadium on September 7th. But seriously, can you name one notable moment for Frankie Louvu so far this season? Email from Dr. Philip C. Philip C. the MD, writes Dr. Philip. This game was such a bummer. Not only were we absolutely anemic and got trounced, but seeing the Deatrich Wise and Austin Ekeler injuries was particularly saddening. We all know from our experience as fans watching older athletes suffer serious injuries that the climb back into top form is a long, hard one. And the odds are against these guys. You could see it in their eyes, both Wise and Ekeler, that they both recognized that their careers are likely over. Godspeed to them both, and I hope they find fulfillment and thrive off the field as much as they have on it. Thank you for the email, Dr. Phillip. Well, hopefully the careers of Austin Ekeler and Deatrich Wise are not over, but that is possible, and their seasons certainly are over. Each guy is set to be an unrestricted free agent this coming offseason. Email from Aaron Kaufman. Writes Aaron, Al, first of all, thank you for your analysis of and reaction to the Commanders' loss at the Packers on Thursday Night Football. What do you make of our woes in this loss? We never seemed to get our offensive motor going in this game. When we ran well, we didn't stick to the run. When we had plays downfield, our receivers and JD did not seem to be on the same page. And when we needed a big play, we seemed to favor a short yard slant for little to no gain. I, like many fans, have felt we always have a chance in the game as long as JD was at the helm, but we seem to have no answer for the Packers, even when the score was just 7-0. I know it's early in the season, but there were some big injuries, and at times we put our QB1 in harm's way when there was little to gain. I love your show and appreciate your grounded and balanced takes to all discussion of Washington football's many nuanced facets. Thank you very much for that, Aaron. I still believe that the Commanders are a good team, but Thursday night was a horrible night. Bad performances by the players, bad coaching, and a lot of injuries. On offense, players rarely were open, and the Commanders had no answer for the Packers' pass rush. On defense, players way too often were open. Aaron brought up Jaden Daniels. He did not play well on Thursday night, but what's also true is that he was pressured a ton, and he rarely had guys open. It was disappointing that Daniels did not do his Superman act and overcome these things, but, overcoming these things was asking a lot. I'm not sure if even Superman himself could have overcome these things. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. It has been a Washington, D.C. institution for decades. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. Founded in 1979, the Nace Law Group offers fierce advocacy on behalf of medical malpractice, birth injury, and personal injury victims. Led by the great Chris Nace, the Nace Law Group is focused on providing exceptional care and counsel for those who need such things the most. The Nace Law Group fights for what it believes in: you, your family, and your future. You with the Nace Law Group have an experienced advocate on your side. The Nace Law Group has secured millions of dollars in verdict and settlement amounts for clients to better enable them to care for themselves and their families. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. Hey, a few things that you could do to support this podcast, and these are things that cost nothing and take very little time. First of all, you on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify can both rate the podcast and write reviews. The highest rating is a 5-star rating. It is greatly appreciated if you give the podcast a 5-star rating, and it is also greatly appreciated if you write like a 1 or 2 sentence review saying that you like the podcast. Also, following the podcast is a big help. If you have an iPhone, following the podcast is as simple as clicking on the word follow next to a plus sign near the top right of your screen. Thank you for doing these things. They help to make the podcast a success, and thank you for listening to the podcast. We, over the last few days, did in fact get reports that Commanders running back Austin Ekeler and Commanders edge defender Deatrich Jr. are done for the season due to injuries suffered in the 27-18 loss at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football this past Thursday night. Ekeler had 8 carries for 17 yards and had 2 receptions for 7 yards on 4 targets, and playing on 52% of the Commanders' offensive snaps. He was carted off the field off suffering a non-contact Achilles injury in the fourth quarter, and we on Saturday morning had reports that an MRI exam had confirmed that Ekeler had suffered a season-ending torn Achilles. Wise played on 16% of the Commanders' defensive snaps. He got carted off the field off suffering a quadriceps injury on Packers kicker and former Commanders kicker Brandon McManus's extra point with 7:34 left in the second quarter. Wise on Friday afternoon in an Instagram post strongly indicated that his season is done, and we on Friday afternoon had reports that his season, in fact, is done. Some roster moves by the Commanders. They on Saturday morning announced having released punter Mitch Wishnowsky from the practice squad and having signed tight end Lawrence Cager back to the practice squad. The team this past Wednesday morning announced having signed Wishnowsky to the practice squad and having released Cager from the practice squad. The Commanders on Thursday afternoon announced having elevated Wishnowsky from the practice squad for the game at the Packers as Tress Way insurance, but Wishnowsky for the game was a healthy and active. Wade did serve as the Commanders punter, and he did well. He over 4 punts averaged 46.8 yards per punt and 46.5 net yards per punt. The Commanders held the Packers over 3 punt returns to just 1 yard. But beyond that, not many positives for the Commanders in the loss at the Packers. I am very pleased to welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast Commanders analyst Mark Bullock. Mark is exceptional at talking Commanders from an X's and O's standpoint. He does tremendous Commanders All-22 breakdowns. You could read his work on his Substack, Bullock's Film Room, which you could find at markbullock.substack.com. Mark has written for The Athletic and for The Washington Post. He also is a Commanders fan. You could follow Mark on X at Mark Bullock NFL. Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well, thanks. How about you?
Doing well. You are coming to us from Sweden, which is 6 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time in the United States. The Commanders game at the Packers this past Thursday night started at 8:15 p.m. Eastern and 2:15 a.m. in Sweden. Was Mark Bullock up at 2:15 a.m. this past Thursday night/Friday morning to consume the Commanders' hideous performance at the Packers?
Of course I was, yeah. And, you know, I've had worse experiences staying up for games. Like, it wasn't the best, most fun game. Sometimes, like, I tried to get myself on sort of American time schedule during the season, so it's never usually too bad. But I hadn't quite got there yet, so it was a bit of a slog to stay up during the last few hours of that game because it was not great. But you know, it was still better than that. What was it? Was it the Monday Night Massacre when it was the Eagles game and they scored that touchdown to Deshaun Jackson on the first? Like, that was the worst experience I've had trying to stay up for a game. So it wasn't that bad. But yeah, it was a little bit of a struggle trying to stay up. Certainly when the game was gone beyond 3 hours and it was past 5 a.m., I was struggling a little bit then.
The game was reminiscent of the good old days, and by good old days, I mean bad old days, during which Washington routinely got stomped in primetime games. Before we get to your analysis of the Commanders' loss at the Packers, Austin Ekeler and Deatrich Wise done for the season. How do you see the Commanders replacing those guys?
So I think for Ekeler, I think they're a little bit more insured. Like, Ekeler does a lot and is a really good player, but I think they have 3 pretty decent options in the running back room. I think Bill Krosky-Merritt is going to step up and get some more carries. I think Chris Rodriguez will come in and be active, and he can take a workload as well in terms of the actual running game. they were kind of doing a little bit of a split thing with Ekeler and Bill. I wonder whether they might go to more of the kind of thing they had last year with Brian Robinson being the kind of lead back. I don't know whether they might do that with Chris Rodriguez being the kind of workhorse guy, and then Bill coming in and spelling him as a bit of an explosive option. And then I think McNichols will probably step up and be the priority third down back, because he's the guy they'll trust most in pass protection. And then, if they're running a play where the running back is free to release, they might use Bill. But I think they will trust McNichols more because he's more reliable in pass protection. So I think that's the way they'll go. I imagine they'll probably bring in another running back just to get 4 on the roster, and someone that's probably a little bit more receiving orientated, and they trust in pass protection. But yeah, I think that's the way they'll go at running back. At defensive end, Wise is a tough one to replace because he's quite unique in that he was quite a big body defensive end. At times, he almost looked more like a defensive tackle than a defensive end. That's how big he is, and they don't necessarily have anyone of that stature, but they do have quite a few defensive ends that do the things that he does in terms of being able to kick inside if they want to, or be kind of a heavy end. So, like, we've seen Kinlaw play a little bit of 5 technique defensive end. Johnny Newton could do that. Drum Payne could do that. And then they could, Dorrance Armstrong does some of the stuff that Wise did in terms of kicking inside from a defensive end position and giving them a matchup on the guards. I think the whole defensive line group is pretty well suited to handle a loss like that, but they don't have a direct replacement because they don't have the guy with the size that Wise had. So maybe they might look outside the building for that type of player, or they might just adjust schematically and maybe go to more of a 3-4 kind of look, which is what they had been doing with Wise in the game. But it's hard to say. That there's a lot of different options they could go down that way.
I do wonder if the Commanders might sign a notable unrestricted free agent edge defender. There are some guys out there, former Redskin Preston Smith, the University of Maryland product Yannick Ngakoue. The Commanders coaching staff, in my opinion, did not have a good game in this loss at the Packers. Now, it's tricky to differentiate between bad coaching and bad playing, but I think we have enough to confidently say that head coach Dan Quinn, offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury, and defensive coordinator Joe Whitt Jr. were not at their best this past Thursday night. Specific to Kingsbury in the game, I do not understand running back Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt having just 4 carries. Kingsbury did not have an answer for the Packers' pass rush, which was dominant. Commanders' pass catchers rarely were open. Kingsbury was not scheming guys open, although certainly some of that may be on pass catchers not getting open. And this bothered me the most. Kingsbury, who we know loves going no huddle, did not go no huddle as much as we expected. What do you think about the work of Kliff Kingsbury this past Thursday night?
Yeah, I don't think he was great. I could see some of the things that he was trying to do early in the game. Like they tried to, like, when you think about what this offense did well last year, it was the kind of the RPOs, the quick screens, to stop those really good pass rushers. They tried to get them going horizontally with the quick screens, and then RPOs, and then obviously run the ball well, which is something that would be the biggest criticism, is they just did not run the ball. Like out there, I think I had the stat, I counted it myself, of their first 21 or 20 called plays, they ran the ball 4 times. And that's just not enough when you're playing a team with Michael Parsons in it, or any team really, but especially a team like the Packers that can do so many different things in coverage and so many different things for their pass rush. So not running the ball that often was pretty terrible. So that stood out as a really big issue. But yeah, the things like the quick screens and stuff, they did try some of that. But the Packers played a lot of zone. And when you play zone, you have all eyes on the quarterback. You're able to see everything. You're able to play top down on everything. So those screens are not easy to execute. And the Packers, they consistently played different zone coverages where they always had a spare man to. So if you had the the kind of tunnel screen to Deebo Samuel. You'd have Washington would have 2 blockers and Samuel, so that's 3 receivers on the left, and then the Packers would have 4 defenders over that. So they'd have a spare man constantly to make the tackle, or spare 2 guys to make the tackle. So those screens didn't work. Then they tried the fake screen where you swing Samuel out to the flat and you fake the screen to him, and then you try to hit the route behind it to Noah Brown. And of course the Packers are in zone, so their players are just disciplined and sit in their zone. And they covered that and they took that away. So those little things that worked well last year weren't working against the Packers because the Packers were playing tons of zone. And then they would get backed up, and then it would get to 3rd and long, and then that's when the Packers would switch up their coverage and start playing man so that they could blitz a lot of guys, and they could constantly rush 5 or sometimes 6, and they just couldn't deal with that pressure up front. So, I think the game plan, I think the biggest criticism you could have, as I say, was the lack of running the ball. Like they actually hit quite a few runs out of those. I said there was 4 of the first 20 plays, or 21 if there was a penalty. If you count that, were passing plays, and the 3 of the runs went for 4 or 5 yards. The one run that didn't work was the read option play where Jaden Daniels mistakenly handed the ball off when he should have kept it. If he had kept it, he probably would have picked up more than 5 yards as well. So they were actually having some success running the ball. They just didn't run the ball, which is a real mystery. And then the other thing that did stand out to me in my notes was the lack of tempo, because that was one way that they had a real good success of slowing down pass rushers last year. Was they'd get lined up, they'd go quick, and especially with a team like the Packers that are really good at disguising their coverages. Like on the first 2 third downs, they showed certain coverage looks, and then they rotated to what's known as an inverted Tampa 2, where it is basically a Tampa 2 coverage, but they get to it very differently. The corners sink back and play the deep halves instead of the safeties. The deep safety steps up and plays the hole, and then you got different players dropping out into the underneath zones. And it can take a little while to decipher that. And if you are going with a lot of tempo, it's really hard for a defense to get into that kind of call, because they have to get lined up so quickly that they tend to play more basic looks. And that was a big advantage for Washington last year. And it's a philosophical thing that Kingsbury's always done really well. And they just didn't use it until kind of late in the game. And that's when they started to have some success. So, I thought it was a really odd game plan from Kingsbury. I don't know whether the short week played into it. I guess that probably played into it a little bit, but it definitely wasn't the best game plan. And I think when they reviewed it, they would have said we should have tried to run the ball more. We should have used a little bit more tempo, do the things that they did so well last year.
Much more with Mark Bullock in moments. Are you looking to upgrade the heart of your home? Whether it is time to repair your gas fireplace, modernize your hearth, or simply add more comfort and style, Nova Fireplace and Stove is Northern Virginia's go-to expert for heat, safety, and home transformation. Nova Fireplace and Stove is a family-owned, fully licensed and insured company with over-the-top credentials, gas and electrical master's licenses, a Class A contractor's license, and a long list of 5-star reviews to back all of this up. Nova Fireplace and Stove has a beautiful showroom in Woodbridge, Virginia. That's where your dream fireplace begins. Come in and see Nova Fireplace and Stove's stunning displays, including custom fireplace glass doors and stone refacing options that can completely transform the look of your fireplace. From sleek and modern to rustic and cozy, Nova Fireplace and Stove has something for every style. And here's what else Nova Fireplace and Stove offers: gas fireplace service and repair, chimney cleaning and brickwork repair, generator installation, panel replacements, and water heater repairs, smoke detectors, security lights, and more. Every job includes a free in-home estimate, and for listeners of the Al Galdi podcast, Nova Fireplace and Stove is offering $25 off any service. Just mention this ad. Nova Fireplace and Stove only works in Northern Virginia and thus knows the homes, the codes, and the people. Your satisfaction is 100% guaranteed. So stop by the showroom, see what's possible, and let Nova Fireplace and Stove help you bring warmth, safety, and style to your space. You can also visit NovaFireplaceandStove.com. Nova Fireplace and Stove, where comfort meets craftsmanship and your fireplace becomes the heart of your home. We're talking with Commanders analyst Mark Bullock of Bullock's Film Room, which you can find at markbullock.substack.com. You just addressed some of this, but the Commanders getting ripped by the Packers pass rush, was that more due to a bad game plan by Kliff Kingsbury or bad blocking by the offensive line?
I would say it was probably more. I mean, the game plan certainly didn't help. Like if you run the ball, you can set up play action, you use the tempo. Those are things that can help the offensive line, like it did last year. I think they had a little bit more trust in their offensive line this year because they've made some upgrades. And you know, you got Laramie Tunsil in there. You got a first round pick in at right tackle. You got your left tackle from last year now playing left guard. You feel like that is a more upgraded unit. So I think they trusted that line a little bit more, and that's why they were a little bit more willing to pass and be a little bit more adventurous. But they didn't use the mitigation stuff to help the offensive line that they did last year. So that is part of the reason. But other part of the reason was a lot of guys struggled. Like the first two games, Brandon Coleman has really, really struggled at left guard. I don't know whether he's dealing with an injury. I've seen like I think it's his right shoulder seems to have some sort of sling or strapping on it. So I don't know if he's dealing with an injury and playing through that or not, but he was really struggling. Josh Conerly obviously has had some struggles. I thought he did okay in the Giants game. It was Brian Burns that really gave him issues, but against Thibodeau he held his own and he actually won his couple matchups against Carter. So I thought that was promising. But obviously the experienced guy in Burns gave him some troubles. And then Micah Parsons ripped him apart, but Micah Parsons does that to basically everyone he plays against, so that I can't really hold that as a big criticism against him. I thought Nick Allegretti actually did okay. He's done okay in both games. He is what he is, so he's going to struggle with those quicker guys. And like I said, when Parsons goes inside and works against anyone, he's going to give them issues. So that's only natural. But I thought Nick Allegretti held up okay otherwise. And Tunsil, I thought, actually held up okay. But the two weak points were the two young players that Coleman and Conerly, and they really took advantage of those guys. I would like to have seen them do some of the more mitigating stuff, the running the ball, setting up play action, using the tempo, giving the defense different things to think about rather than just letting them tee off as easily as they were able to. So certainly some of it was on the game plan, but there were definitely individual issues there as well.
There have been calls from both media members and fans for the Commanders to put Andrew Wiley at right tackle over Josh Conerly Jr. given his struggles. What a world, right? People clamoring for Andrew Wiley off the criticism that he has received. Personally, I would stick with Conerly. I mean, if you believe in the guy as a 2025 first-round pick, you have to allow for some struggles, let him develop, give him more than 2 regular season games. But should the Commanders consider going with Andrew Wiley as the starting right tackle?
No, I'd play Conerly. I would not be switching to Wiley. Like if they'd started the year doing the tackle rotation thing that they did last year with Coleman, then you could maybe make a case for like, okay, we'll do 2 series with Wiley and 1 with Conerly rather than 50-50. But I think Conerly is much more talented. He's adjusting. It's his second game. It was a short week against one of the best pass rushers in the entire league. Like he's got a bit of a baptism by fire here, playing the Giants with Burns, Thibodeau, and Carter, and then plays the Packers with Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary and the group that they have. And then next week they've got the Raiders with Crosby, but like it's not going to get any harder for him. It's like this is as tough as it gets in the NFL. If he can come through that, which I think he will, then you get someone that'll be better for it at the end of it. So I think they will stick with him. I wouldn't be switching to Andrew Wiley. Like I don't think he's been so dreadful that it's like he's the reason they're losing. Like to me, the worst player on the line has been Coleman, honestly. So if you're going to make a switch, it would be Coleman. But I think they will stick with their group, assuming everyone stays healthy after this game.
So many instances of wide open Packers pass catchers on Thursday night. Was that more about a bad game plan by Joe Whitt or missed assignments by Commanders players?
So you can go 2 ways about it, but I think for me, I think they would have seen it as more individual errors than a game plan issue. we know this team wants to play a lot of man coverage, and we know they want to play man coverage to be able to blitz. And so everyone knows they are kind of wanting to be a man coverage team. Whether the corners can hold up doing that is another question. Whether the safeties can hold up doing that is another question. Marshawn Lattimore had a tough game. He struggled. Like we saw on the opening third down, the Packers knew that they were going to be a man team, and so they motioned a guy across the formation, and Lattimore had to follow him, and then they ran a quick speed out while Lattimore was still following him, and he just couldn't stay with him. And that is a tough assignment, and maybe you'd like to see them build in some sort of check where they can switch that off, but they might have just been like, well, we want Lattimore on their number one guy, so if he goes in motion, Lattimore's got to stay with him. And you know, that does make some sense. If you're wanting to play man coverage and you want Lattimore on their number one guy, then that's the kind of thing that they're going to have to deal with and going to have to be able to deal with is those motions and quick outs that get number one corners off of number one receivers. And if you can't deal with that, then yes, you need to adjust your game plan. But I think they have faith in Lattimore to be able to deal with that kind of thing. And he did struggle in this game. Then the big one was the tight end Tyler Kraft, or is it Tucker Kraft? I can't remember. Tucker, yeah. So he had a couple big catches, and most of them were busted coverages. So the big one was obviously the one up the seam for 57 yards. That was again, it was a nice play design by the Packers, and Washington actually used the same play later on and didn't hit it quite so well. But they used a jet sweep fake into kind of what you would call an all-go special, but they overloaded one side. So they had the jet sweep receiver fake a jet sweep, and then he turned up the sideline as the outside go route. Then you had two tight ends both run up the seam, one more directly up the seam and one more of a deep over. And the one up the seam was Kraft. And then you had the running back work out to the flat. And so you had four guys overloading that one side of the field. And Washington, Bobby Wagner was the guy that ended up looking like he was looking for where was my help. Someone was meant to carry Kraft. When I watched it back in the All-22, it looked like everyone else kind of did their assignments well and fanned out the way they were meant to, and Wagner just got left one-on-one and couldn't stay with Kraft. And again, if you're going to play man coverage, you do have to be able to deal with a matchup like Bobby Wagner trying to carry a tight end up the seam, and that's not necessarily the things he does well nowadays. But that is the kind of risk and reward of being a man coverage team is you will get some bad matchups time to time, and that was one. And Wagner couldn't stay with it, and whether there was some sort of pass off that they were meant to do, maybe, but to me it looked like it was just Wagner couldn't stay with it. But there was other ones where it was like there was little bootlegs to the flat where Kraft would block initially and Harris would blitz, Will Harris, the safety, would blitz when he was meant to be covering him, or Javonte Jean-Baptiste was kind of engaging on a block, and then the quarterback, Jordan Love, would roll out on a bootleg, and instead of staying engaged with the block, he tried to go and rush the passer, and that would leave Kraft to release freely, and both Harris and Baptiste would be chasing the quarterback, and Kraft would be free in the flat and pick up an easy first down. There was a similar one where Harris was kind of confused he thought it was a run, so he was filling the run, and then it was a play action, and Kraft worked out to the flat. And Harris actually recovered nicely, but then missed the tackle, and then Kraft went and picked up 17 yards or something like that. So there was a couple of little sloppy plays like that, which saw Kraft get quite a few of his yards doing that. There were a lot of kind of coverage busts, which I don't know if you can put that on the coaching staff. I think that's more on individual errors. So I guess if you say that there's a lot of individual errors, then you maybe say, well, this defense isn't up to playing man coverage and we can't play it. And then that's on the coaching staff. But I feel like it's still quite early in the year. You're still figuring out what your defense can and can't do. You want to challenge them. You want to say, this is what we'd ideally like to do, and we believe in you. Let's see if you can go do it. And now they're seeing that a couple games into it, Marshawn Lattimore struggling, so maybe they need to adjust there. Or Smikey Sanders still has had some struggles, maybe they need to adjust there. And maybe at this point last year, it was St. Juste and Forbes were the starting cornerbacks, and then that quickly changed, and they found a better identity that worked for them by sort of week 7, week 8. So I think defense is always an evolving thing where you're seeing what's working early in the year, and then you adjust your defense as you go. So I think that's where I'm at with it. I don't think it's a terrible coaching job as much as it was individual errors.
Also regarding cornerback Marshawn Lattimore was a very interesting quote. He, whether he meant to or not, provided an indictment of Joe Whitt's scheme for this game. Lattimore, during his post-game session with reporters on Thursday night, said this about the Packers, quote, "All they were doing was sending players in motion to get us off the spot. They didn't really let us press. They knew we were going to play man, so they ran man beaters. That's all it was," end quote. How valid is what Lattimore said?
Yeah, well, they did do a lot of man beaters, but there was also individual errors on, as I talked about with play action stuff, where again it was individuals one-on-one, like Wagner lost to the Kraft and Harris lost quite a few routes to Kraft. Lattimore lost quite a few routes regardless of which receiver he was trying to cover, and Samra still had a couple of losses as well. So they all did have individual losses. So yeah, I think that it's fairly valid that they did get beat on a bunch of man beaters, especially Lattimore. But like, this is a team that wants to play man. It's like, that those man beaters are going to come. You've got to find ways to beat that. And they didn't in this game. And whether that leads to them adjusting to try to use some more match stuff in the future, where when those guys go in motions, they rotate the safeties or pass things off a little bit better. That's probably the way they'll try to go. But in this game, they clearly wanted to play man so that they could blitz, and then they wanted certain players on certain individuals, like Lattimore on certain receivers or Harris on Kraft, and those guys didn't hold up, and sometimes that happens.
Commanders analyst Mark Bullock of Bullock's Film Room, which you can find at markbullock.substack.com. And Mark will be with us later this week for an in-depth breakdown of how Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels has done over the team's first 2 games of the 2025 regular season. Mark, thanks. We'll talk soon.
Of course, you too.
All right, football and food. 2 beautiful things, right? They go so well together. Well, as football season is underway, now is the perfect time to get yourself or someone who you care about Omaha Steaks. And here is a great deal for listeners of the Al Galdi podcast. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during Omaha Steaks' Red Hot Sale event. And for an extra $35 off, use the promo code ALGALDI at checkout. Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. Enjoy USDA-certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, cozy and convenient comfort meals like chicken and pork, plus tailgating favorites like chicken wings, smash burgers, and big deli-style franks. Also, Omaha Steaks offers great desserts. I love Omaha Steaks food. My wife and kids love Omaha Steaks food. There's no risk. Every bite is backed by a 100% guarantee. And you're supporting one of this country's great companies. Omaha Steaks is a family-owned company that has been America's original butcher since 1917. Treat yourself and your family or someone who you care about to Omaha Steaks and take advantage of the great deal for listeners of the Al Galdi podcast. Go to omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during Omaha Steaks' Red Hot Sale event. And for an extra $35 off, use the promo code ALGALDI at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with the promo code ALGALDI at checkout. See site for details. Well, if you're like me, you care about your car, but you're not the biggest fan of having to get work done on your car. This is where Roda comes in. Roda is a DMV-based auto shop that makes taking care of your car so easy, it feels like magic. Roda has a team of best-in-the-business technicians who can service any make and model across any maintenance or repairs and detailing. With over 1,000 Google reviews, Best Auto Shop on Yelp, and Nextdoor awards, your neighbors are loving Roda, and you will too. Roda is tremendous. You can book any car service online in under 3 minutes. Roda offers free towing or valet. Roda literally will pick up your car and bring it to the shop in Rockville, Maryland. service the car, and return it to you. Over 80% of Rota services are done on the same day on which they're booked. Rota offers price matching, honest flat pricing, and financing. Rota offers free inspections on your car and shares everything found via video and pictures. Drivers approve only what they want to. Visit Rota.com, that's RODA.com, and use the promo code GALDI20 for 20% off any service. That's Rota.com, promo code GALDI20 for 20% off any service.
You just realized that you needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people that you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? Well, in the minute I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Just go to Indeed.com/BWN right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Time now to talk college football. 6 of the 7 FBS teams of the Mid-Atlantic region played in Week 3 of the 2025 season. There was no game for James Madison. 2 of the teams played against each other, and the result was brutal for one of those teams, and that team now has fired its head coach. A theme for the 7 FBS teams of the Mid-Atlantic region this season on this podcast is multiple head coaches being on hot seats. One of those coaches already has been fired. Virginia Tech, it fell to 0-3 overall with a humiliating 45-26 loss to Old Dominion at Lane Stadium in Blacksburg, Virginia on Saturday night, and Tech on Sunday afternoon announced having fired head coach Brent Pry. Bye-bye to Pry. Him being fired had come to feel inevitable, but that it happened with more than 2 weeks left in the month of September really is something. Pry was the Hokies head coach from November 30th, 2021 to September 14th, 2025. His overall record as Hokies head coach, 16-24. Not close to good enough. There are serious questions with Virginia Tech athletics in terms of spending money in this modern culture of NIL and the NCAA transfer portal. Look, Tech is not exactly loaded with great players, but what's also true is that Brent Pry did not do some bang-up job as Hokies head coach. He seems like a nice guy. He had his press conferences, said the right things, and came off in classy ways, but his tenure as Tech head coach just did not go well. And this loss against ODU on Saturday night was a debacle. Virginia Tech is paying Old Dominion $400,000 to play this game. So ODU won at Virginia Tech and got $400,000 from Virginia Tech. Tech for this game was a 5.5-point favorite per multiple outlets and yet lost by 19 points, and even that is misleading. ODU in the third quarter held a 31-0 lead. The Hokies made the final score more respectable by winning the garbage time fourth quarter 19-7. This loss gives Virginia Tech its first 0-3 start to a season since 1987, a disastrous night in Blacksburg. Now, from an ODU perspective, big win for head coach Ricky Ronnie and his program. ODU improved to 2-1 overall. ODU notched its third win against Virginia Tech in a 7-game series that dates back to 2018. ODU quarterback Colton Joseph, he went 16 for 22 for 276 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. He took no sacks. He had 8 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown. Colton Joseph now for this season is number 28 among all qualified quarterbacks in the FBS and ESPN's total QBR, 77.3. ODU running back and Georgia military transfer Traquan Jones, he had 13 carries for 101 yards and a touchdown and had 1 reception for 7 yards. Tech quarterback Kyron Drones put up some numbers, but a lot of this came in garbage time. Drones went 26 for 39 for 266 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. He took 4 sacks. He had 14 carries for 92 yards and a touchdown when you take out the 4 sacks that he took. The Hokies have named offensive coordinator Philip Montgomery as interim head coach. The press release from Virginia Tech on Sunday afternoon had this headline, quote, "Leadership transition underway for Virginia Tech football," end quote. I like that. Leadership transition from Virginia Tech President Tim Sands, quote, "Coach Brent Pry has been relieved of his coaching duties effective immediately. We appreciate Coach Pry's efforts and service since 2021. Unfortunately, the results on the field were not acceptable and a change in leadership is necessary. Philip Montgomery will serve as interim head coach. We will continue to fully support our team and student athletes for the remaining games as we strive together to significantly improve the trajectory of our football program this season," end quote. During Brent Pry's post-game press conference late night on Saturday night, what turned out to be his final press conference, as Hokies head coach had this exchange.
Coach, before the game even started, when the projected starting lineup was playing through the Jumbotron, when your name came up, there was a lot of verbal frustration from the Hokie faithful, especially now with 28-0 at halftime and fans were leaving the stands. Is there anything that you can say to those fans who were verbally and physically frustrated?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I'm frustrated too, so I understand where they're coming from. The expectations at this place are to win, and we got great fans here. So I understand their frustrations. They've been fantastic to us. I thought the crowd was a good crowd tonight, and we let them down.
Yes, you did. And now Brent Pry is out as Hokies head coach. Next up for Virginia Tech, home to Wofford Saturday at noon. Next up for Old Dominion is a bye week. The Monarchs' next game is home to Liberty on Saturday, September 27th. Dominant wins for Maryland and Virginia over FCS teams on Saturday afternoon. Maryland improved to 3-0 overall with a 44-17 win over Towson at CQ Stadium in College Park, Maryland on Saturday afternoon. Towson, an FCS program. The Terrapins extended their FBS best winning streak over non-conference opponents to 18 games. So the Terps in the third quarter led 41-0. Maryland true freshman quarterback Malik Washington had a good game. 16 for 22 for 261 yards, a touchdown. Did throw an interception, but he had a yards per pass attempt of 11.86 and a yards per completion of 16.31. He took no sacks. He had 3 carries for 29 yards and a touchdown. During Terps head coach Mike Loxley's postgame press conference on Saturday afternoon, had this exchange between WTOP sports anchor Dave Preston and Loxley.
Mike, Malik's day, especially early, those deep shots you guys were able to take, tons of big plays in the first half. What do you guys feel you were able to take advantage of early?
I think the big thing is when you watch Malik, being able to use all 53 and a half of the field, the comebacks to the field from the opposite hash or throws, those are big boy throws. You don't appreciate the throw to punch, the throw behind ball where he just understands where and the type of accuracy that we need to make some of these throws. Again, as I've said before, he's still working, kind of still in that training camp mode. If you think about the amount of work that he missed early in the training camp. But I'm really pleased with how he's protected the football and the decision making. And, Pep and offensive staff have done a really good job of force feeding him things and getting him into rhythm. And I thought he did a really good job today early getting going on offense.
So the Terps this season have yet to play a truly tough opponent, but Malik Washington over 3 games, 6 touchdown passes versus 1 interception, a yards per pass attempt of 7.73, and no sacks. He has taken no sacks. And the Terps defense in this blowout at Towson was good. The Terps held Towson to just 1 for 13 on third downs. The Terps gave up a meaningless 84-yard touchdown pass in the fourth quarter. If you take that play out, the Terps held Towson to a yards per play of just 3.65. The Terps generated 2 takeaways, including a 100-yard pick six by defensive back Lakai Rowland with 11:51 left in the third quarter. This was Maryland's first pick six of at least 100 yards since November 24th, 1962. The Terps, over their first 3 games this season, have held opponents to a combined 33 points, fewest points allowed by Maryland over its first 3 games of a season since the 2001 Terps held their first 3 opponents to a combined 30 points. But now things get tougher. Next up from Maryland at Wisconsin, Saturday at noon in the Terps 2025 Big Ten opener. As for Virginia, it improved to 2-1 overall with a 55-16 win over William & Mary at Scott Stadium in Charlottesville, Virginia on Saturday afternoon. William & Mary is an FCS program. Its head coach is former UVA head coach Mike London. This game took place on UVA Strong Day at Scott Stadium. UVA Strong Day in honor of the horrendous tragedy for the University of Virginia on November 13th, 2022, when a former Virginia running back shot and killed 3 Virginia football players, receiver Lavelle Davis Jr., receiver and Wisconsin transfer Devin Chandler, and linebacker/defensive end Deshaun Perry. So how about this? UVA's 55 points on Saturday afternoon were the program's most in a game since a 55-15 rout of Abilene Christian at Scott Stadium on November 21st, 2020. Lavelle Davis and Deshaun Perry each scored a touchdown for the Wahoos in that game. How appropriate is that? And then there's this. UVA in this rout of William & Mary set a single-game program record by generating 700 total net yards of offense. Yes, 700 yards. A tremendous performance by head coach Tony Elliott's offense. The Cavaliers outgained William & Mary 700-263. The Cavs ran 87 offensive plays to William & Mary's 49 and winning the time of possession battle by 15 minutes, 12 seconds. So the Cavs averaged 8.05 yards per play and went 9 for 16 on third down. So UVA running back and Wyoming transfer Harrison Whaley, he had 10 carries for 151 yards and 3 touchdowns, including a 1st and 10 97-yard pistol handoff touchdown run with 11:31 left in the third quarter. That is the longest rush in UVA football history. UVA running back Noah Vaughn, he had 8 carries for 101 yards. UVA quarterback and North Texas graduate transfer Chandler Morris, he went 13 for 19 for 149 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions. He took no sacks. He had 1 carry for 7 yards. So next up for Virginia, home to Stanford Saturday night at 7:30. A frightening start, but ultimately a good win for Navy. It improved to 3-0 overall, including 2-0 in the AAC with a 42-23 win at Tulsa on Saturday night. The midshipmen overcame a 14-0 first quarter deficit. They won the rest of the game 42-9. Navy quarterback Blake Horvath, wild game. Horvath in the first quarter committed 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions, and a lost fumble. But Horvath ended up putting up big numbers. He went 6 for 10 for 94 yards and a touchdown to go with the 2 picks. He took 1 sack. He had 20 carries for 169 yards, a touchdown, and a lost fumble when you take out the sack that he took. And Navy running back Alex Teska, he had 15 carries for 72 yards and 2 touchdowns and had no receptions on 1 target. Navy slot back Eli Heidenreich, he had 8 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown and had 2 receptions for 40 yards on 2 targets. Navy's offense beyond the 3 turnovers was good. The Mids generated 461 total net yards of offense, averaged 6.32 yards per play, and went 8 for 13 on third downs. And Navy's defense was solid. The Mids held Tulsa to a yards per play of 4.7 and held Tulsa to just 4 for 13 on third downs. Next up for Navy is a bye week. The Mids' next game is home to Rice Saturday afternoon, September 27th at 3:30. Is this a down season for Liberty? The Flames, not exactly flaming right now. Liberty fell to 1-2 overall with a 23-13 loss at Bowling Green on Saturday evening. Liberty committed 4 turnovers, 2 lost fumbles and 2 interceptions. Liberty had just 6 accepted penalties, but 2 of them nullified touchdowns. So Liberty quarterback and Coastal Carolina transfer Ethan Vasco, mixed game, completed just 13 of his 24 pass attempts, threw 2 interceptions and took 4 sacks. Did throw for 194 yards and a touchdown, so he averaged 8.08 yards per pass attempt and 14.92 yards per completion. He had 10 carries for 26 yards when you take out the 4 sacks that he took. Liberty's defense did play well. The Flames held Bowling Green to just 4.47 yards per play and to just 6 for 17 on third downs. But Liberty has not looked good so far this season. Liberty for this season is number 112 out of 136 FBS teams in overall team efficiency per ESPN. Virginia Tech, by the way, is number 118. Next up for Liberty, home to James Madison, Saturday afternoon at 3:30. Well, the Nationals and Orioles, the 2 teams of Masson, they just treated the Pittsburgh Pirates very poorly on a 6-game road trip. The O's swept a 3-game series against the Pirates at Oriole Park at Camden Yards this past Tuesday through Thursday. And the Nats won 2 out of 3 games against the Pirates at Nationals Park over the weekend. The Pirates on the road trip went just 1-5 with each loss a 1-run loss. But a good weekend for the Nats. Friday evening, a 6-5 win over the Pirates in a game in which the Nats overcame a 3-0 6-inning deficit, but also allowed 2 runs in the top of the 9th to trim a 6-3 lead to 6-5. Saturday, a 5-1 loss to the Pirates in a game in which the Nats blew a 1-0 8th-inning lead by allowing 4 runs in the top of the 8th. But Sunday, a 4-3 win over the Pirates in a game in which the Nats overcame a 3-0 second-inning deficit. The game started at 11:35 a.m. The Nats in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 62-87. Worst record in the National League East, second worst record in the National League. But the Nats now are 9-4 in this month of September. The Pirates have the third worst record in the National League, 65-85. A mediocre series offensively for the Nats. The 6-5 win over the Pirates on Friday evening. The Nats scored 6 runs, totaled 8 hits, worked 3 walks, and went 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. The 8 hits were 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and 4 singles. The 5-1 loss to the Pirates on Saturday. The Nats scored just 1 run, totaled just 3 hits, worked just 1 walk, and went 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. All 3 of the Nats' hits were singles. The Nats got worked by Pirates starting pitcher Bubba Chandler in just his second career MLB regular season start. He allowed 1 run in 6 innings with 7 strikeouts versus no walks. In the 4-3 win over the Pirates on Sunday, the Nats scored 4 runs, totaled 7 hits, worked 3 walks, and went 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. The 7 hits were 2 doubles and 5 singles. More production from Dalen Lyle. He on Sunday as the Nats starting left fielder and number 4 batter went 2 for 2 with a double, a single, and 2 walks. Did get caught in an attempted steal of second base, but Dalen Lyle continues to produce. He at the major league level this regular season, 306 plate appearances, OPS of 796. James Wood, he in this series made a huge defensive play, but he also had more struggles as a batter. Wood as the Nats' number 2 batter in each of the 3 games in this series. The 6-5 win over the Pirates on Friday evening. Wood as the Nats starting left fielder went 2 for 4 with 2 doubles and an outfield assist, but he also struck out twice, giving him an MLB worst 200 strikeouts in this regular season and setting a new record for most strikeouts by a Montreal Expos/Washington Nationals player in a regular season. The previous record was 199 by Adam Dunn in 2010. But the outfield assist was big. Wood in the Pirates' 2-run ninth had a big outfield assist. He on a Joey Bart pinch 2-out RBI single to left field to cut the Nats lead to 6-5. Threw out Alexander Canario at home to keep the Nats lead at 6-5. The 5-1 loss to the Pirates on Saturday. Wood as the Nats starting left fielder went 0 for 3 with a walk and 2 strikeouts. And the 4-3 win over the Pirates on Sunday. Wood as the Nats starting DH went 0 for 3 with a walk and 2 strikeouts. James Wood for this regular season continues to be number 1 among all qualified Nats players at OPS at 826, but His OPS as of games through July 3rd was 958. His OPS has dropped 132 points over the last 2+ months, and Wood for this regular season now has an MLB worst 204 strikeouts. You don't mind strikeouts if the guy is producing, but Wood right now is not producing at the rate at which he had been producing, and Wood is nearing the MLB record for most strikeouts by a batter in a regular season. That record is 223 by Mark Reynolds in 2009. Wood is 19 strikeouts away from that record. I want to talk about C.J. Abrams. He had a bad series. He was the Nats starting shortstop and number one batter in each of the 3 games in this series. The 6-5 win over the Pirates on Friday evening, Abrams went 1 for 4 with a single. The 5-1 loss to the Pirates on Saturday, Abrams went 0 for 4 with a throwing error. And the 4-3 win over the Pirates on Sunday, Abrams went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts and a throwing error. C.J. Abrams for this regular season continues to be number 2 among all qualified Nats players in OPS 761, but he had a bad August, now is having a bad September, and his defense has been a real problem. It feels like every game now, C.J. Abrams commits an error, and while errors are not the best way to judge players defensively, Abrams for this regular season, as of games through Saturday, had -6 defensive runs saved per Sports Info Solutions and had -9 outs above average per StatCast. C.J. Abrams is under team control through the 2028 season. It is going to be really interesting to see how the Nats handle Abrams moving forward. I do think that it's possible that whoever is running Nats baseball operations beyond this season trades C.J. Abrams this coming offseason. But if he isn't traded this offseason, the Nats, to me, need to seriously consider moving him to second base. Abrams is not a quality defensive shortstop. The Nats starting pitching in the team winning 2 out of 3 games against the Pirates over the weekend was so-so, but each guy did give the Nats a chance to win. The 6-5 win over the Pirates on Friday evening, Brad Lord was solid. He allowed 3 runs in 6 innings. He gave up 7 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 5 singles. He had 4 strikeouts versus no walks. He threw 88 pitches, 57 strikes, 31 balls. So the 5-1 loss to the Pirates on Saturday, Andrew Alvarez made just his 3rd MLB regular season start and was great. He tossed 6 scoreless innings with 5 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He gave up just 3 hits, all of which were singles. He issued a wild pitch. He threw a lot of strikes, 85 pitches, 55 strikes, 30 balls. The Nats on Labor Day Monday morning, September 1st, announced having selected the contract of Alvarez from AAA Rochester. The Nats took Alvarez in the 12th round of the 2021 MLB draft out of California Polytechnic State University. He was named the Nats 2023 Minor League Pitcher of the Year, and he's since being called up from Rochester, has the following stats: 3 starts, ERA of 1.15, whip of 0.83. And the 4-3 win over the Pirates on Sunday, Cade Cavalli allowed 3 runs in 5 innings. He gave up just 3 hits, which were a triple and 2 singles. But he issued 4 walks, a hit by pitch, and a wild pitch. And he recorded just 2 strikeouts. He threw 67 pitches, 41 strikes, 26 balls. Cavalli in the top of the first allowed 3 runs, but he then was good. He tossed 4 scoreless innings. The Nats relief pitching in the team winning 2 out of 3 games against the Pirates over the weekend. Bad in games 1 and 2, but very good in game 3. The 6-5 win over the Pirates on Friday evening. 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 2 runs in 3 innings. Jose A. Ferrer, who had been doing so well as the Nats closer / ace reliever, he allowed 2 runs in 1 inning, did get the save. He in the top of the 9th allowed 2 runs on a double, 2 RBI singles, a walk, and a wild pitch. Ferrer really got bailed out by that outfield assist by James Wood. The 5-1 loss to the Pirates on Saturday. 5 Nats relievers combined to allow 5 runs in 3 innings on a home run, 3 singles, and 5 walks. Cole Henry officially allowed 2 runs in a third of an inning. He and Wood ended up being a 4-run 8th for the Pirates. Faced 3 batters, but got just 1 out as he issued a leadoff walk and a 1-out walk. He threw 18 pitches, just 7 strikes versus 11 balls. And the Nats on Sunday morning announced having put Henry on the 15-day injured list due to a back strain. So his season is done. Also, the Nats on Sunday morning announced having recalled reliever Orlando Rebolta from AAA Rochester. But the 4-3 win over the Pirates on Sunday, 4 Nats relievers combined for 4 scoreless innings with 7 strikeouts. Mason Thompson tossed a scoreless and hitless top of the 6th. Connor Pilkington tossed a scoreless and hitless top of the 7th with 2 swinging strikeouts despite a throwing error by shortstop C.J. Abrams and despite Pilkington issuing a 2-out walk. Jackson Rutledge tossed a scoreless top of the 8th despite giving up a 2-out double. And Clayton Beeter, who was pitching for a 3rd consecutive day and for a 4th time in 5 days, tossed a scoreless top of the 9th with 3 strikeouts for the save despite issuing a 2-out walk and then giving up a 2-out single. Nats interim manager Miguel Cairo, during his postgame press conference on Sunday afternoon, said that he went with Beeter to close out the game as opposed to Jose A. Ferrer due to wanting to give Ferrer a break. Okay. But Beeter, as mentioned, was pitching for a 3rd consecutive day and for a 4th time in 5 days. I think that this may have been the Nats, maybe more specifically, Nats interim general manager Mike DiBartolo wanting to see how Clayton Beeter did as a closer, because he has been really good. The Nats on July 26th announced having traded utility man Ahmed Rosario to the New York Yankees for 2 prospects in reliever Clayton Beeter and outfielder Brown Martinez. Beeter killed it in this series against the Pirates. The 6-5 win over the Pirates on Friday evening, Beeter tossed a perfect top of the 8th with 2 swinging strikeouts. The 5-1 loss to the Pirates on Saturday, Beeter tossed a perfect top of the 7th with 2 swinging strikeouts, and then Beeter did as he did on Sunday. Clayton Beeter for the Nats, 20 games, 18 2/3 innings, ERA of 1.93, whip of 0.80, strikeouts per 9 innings of 13.02. Next up for the Nats is a 4-game series against the Atlanta Braves at Nationals Park, but the 4 games will happen over 3 days. Game 1 of the series is on Monday evening at 6:45. Mitchell Parker will be the Nats starting pitcher. Games 2 and 3 of the series are on Tuesday via a day-night doubleheader, start times of 1:05 p.m. and 6:45 p.m. The Nats have not officially announced starting pitchers for these games, but the expectation is that the starting pitchers will be Jake Irvin and Mackenzie Gore in some order. And Game 4 of the series is on Wednesday afternoon at 4:05. Brad Lord will be the Nats starting pitcher. Hey, if you're like me, you don't exactly have a ton of time to shop for clothes. My wife is the same way, and she has introduced me to Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix is great. You just take a quick style quiz, share your size, your vibe, your budget, and boom, you're matched with a real human stylist who handles the rest. Stitch Fix sends you a fix box with clothes that actually fit and make sense for your life, work, weekends, whatever. Stitch Fix saves you time, you look great, and you don't even have to think about it. And Stitch Fix is no risk, all style. Try Stitch Fix clothes in the comfort of your home. Keep what works, send back the rest. Free shipping and returns always, and no subscription required. Plus, get a free try-on for your first fix. Get started today at StitchFix.com/podcast to get $20 off your first order, and Stitch Fix will waive your styling fee. That's StitchFix.com/podcast.
Listen, life's all about leveling up. Whether you're handling business on the field or kicking it in your zone, you like to celebrate with cigars that match the moment. That's why you should link up with Famous Cigars to bring you a wild deal. Right now, you can grab 8 premium cigars for just $8. You heard that right. 8 top-rated cigars at $1 a stick. Top quality brands like Oliva, Romeo y Julieta, and Davidoff. Handpicked just for you and worth over $80. Hit up famouscigars.com/cam and lock in this exclusive deal. While you're there, check out their insane selection of premium cigars, all shipped fresh and fast from their massive 20,000 square foot humidor. That's half a football field. Famous Cigars has been in the game since 1939 and still family owned. So celebrate every win with the folks at Famous. 8 cigars for $8. famouscigars.com/cam.
Well, the Orioles over the weekend got victimized at the best team in the American League, a 3-game sweep at the Toronto Blue Jays. Friday night, a 6-1 loss at the Blue Jays in a game in which the O's blew a 1-0 fifth-inning lead. Saturday, a 5-4 walk-off loss at the Blue Jays in a game in which the O's blew a 4-2 ninth-inning lead. Sunday afternoon, an 11-2 loss at the Blue Jays. The O's in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 69-80, worst record in the American League East, 4th worst record in the American League. The Blue Jays in this regular season now are an American League best 87 and 62. The O's in this series got outscored 22-7. This was a series that, if you're the O's, made you look forward to the end of this season. The 6-1 loss at the Blue Jays on Friday night, the O's scored just one run, in total just 3 hits, which were a double and 2 singles. The O's did work 4 walks, went 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. Blue Jays starting pitcher Chris Bassett, he allowed 1 run in 5 innings with 6 strikeouts versus 1 walk. The 5-4 walk-off loss at the Blue Jays on Saturday. The O's scored 4 runs, totaled 7 hits, worked 4 walks, and went 3 for 11 with runners in scoring position. The 7 hits were a home run, 2 doubles, and 4 singles. The Blue Jays starting pitcher was former Nationals ace Max Scherzer. He allowed 2 runs in 5 innings with 5 strikeouts. Kobe Mayo did homer. He is the Orioles starting first baseman and number 9 batter, went 2 for 4 with a solo homer and a single. And the 11-2 loss at the Blue Jays on Sunday afternoon, the O's scored just 2 runs, totaled just 7 hits, worked just 2 walks, and went 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. The 7 hits were 2 home runs and 5 singles. Blue Jays starting pitcher Shane Bieber, he allowed 1 run in 6 innings with 5 strikeouts versus 1 walk. Kobe Mayo did homer for a second consecutive game. He is the Orioles starting first baseman and number 6 batter, went 1 for 3 with a solo homer and a walk. Colton Cowser, he is the Orioles starting center fielder and number 7 batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer. So some firepower for the O's in this series, but not nearly enough. Tyler O'Neill is back. The O's on Friday afternoon announced having returned O'Neill from his minor league rehab assignment and having activated him from the 10-day injured list. He had been on that since August 8th, retroactive to August 6th. This due to right wrist inflammation. His 3rd stint on the 10-day IL this season. O'Neill in the 6-1 loss at the Blue Jays on Friday night as the Orioles starting DH and number 6 batter went 0 for 3 with a walk. O'Neill in the 5-4 walk-off loss at the Blue Jays on Saturday as the Orioles starting DH and number 4 batter went 1 for 4 with a single and an RBI groundout. He did not play in the 11-2 loss at the Blue Jays on Sunday afternoon. Now, the O's got swept in 3 games at the Blue Jays over the weekend, despite the only 2 outings from Orioles starting pitchers in the series going well. The 6-1 loss at the Blue Jays on Friday night. Trevor Rogers was good. He did leave the game due to discomfort with his left big toe. Hopefully, he doesn't land on an injured list, but he allowed 1 run unearned in 5 innings with 6 strikeouts. He gave up just 3 hits, all of which were singles. He did issue 4 walks. He threw 79 pitches, 50 strikes, 29 balls. So the 5-4 walk-off loss at the Blue Jays on Saturday. Tomoyuki Sagano was good. He allowed 1 run in 6 innings with 4 strikeouts versus no walks. He gave up just 4 hits, which were a home run and 3 singles. He threw a lot of strikes as he, over his mere 63 pitches, threw 45 strikes versus just 18 balls. But the Orioles bullpen had big problems in this series. The 6-1 loss at the Blue Jays on Friday night, 2 Orioles relievers, Deatrich Enns and Sean Dubin, they combined to allow 5 runs in 3 innings, and the O's on Sunday morning announced having placed Dubin on the 15-day injured list, retroactive to September 13th due to right elbow discomfort. The 5-4 walk-off loss at the Blue Jays on Saturday, 4 Orioles relievers combined to allow 4 runs, 3 earned in 2 2/3 innings. Cade Stroud, Keegan Aiken, and Yennier Cano combined to allow 4 runs, 3 earned in 1 2/3 innings on 7 singles, a walk, and a walk-off sac fly as the Blue Jays scored a run in the bottom of the 8th and 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th. Also, Aiken committed a throwing error in that Blue Jays 3-run 9th, and Samuel Basallo committed a catcher's interference error in that Blue Jays 3-run 9th. And the 11-2 loss at the Blue Jays on Sunday afternoon, the O's went with a bullpen game. Very mixed results. Albert Suarez started the game. He was good, as he usually is. He allowed 1 run in 3 innings with 5 strikeouts versus 1 walk, but Grant Wolfram allowed 2 runs in 1 inning. Carson Ragsdale, in his MLB regular season debut, allowed 8 runs in 3 innings. How do you like that? The O's on Sunday morning announced having recalled Ragsdale from AAA Norfolk. And then a position player, shortstop Luis Vasquez, tossed a perfect inning. The O's on August 1st announced having recalled Vasquez from AAA Norfolk. Next up for the O's is a 3-game series at the worst team in the American League, the Chicago White Sox. So the O's are going from a 3-game series at the best team in the AL in the Blue Jays to a 3-game series at the worst team in the AL in the White Sox. Game 1, Monday night at 7:40, Kyle Bradish will be the Orioles starting pitcher. Game 2, Tuesday night at 7:40, the Orioles starting pitcher is to be announced. Game 3, Wednesday afternoon at 2:10, the Orioles starting pitcher is to be announced. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Tuesday's show, episode 1156. We'll have plenty for you on the Commanders, as head coach Dan Quinn on Monday is expected to speak to reporters for the first time since his post-game press conference following the 27-18 loss at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football this past Thursday night. Also on Tuesday's show, we'll talk Nationals and Orioles. The Nats are home to the Atlanta Braves Monday evening at 6:45 in Game 1 of a 4-game series. The O's are at the Chicago White Sox Monday night at 7:40 in Game 1 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
The damn Washington Wizards.
If you thought goldenly breaded McDonald's chicken couldn't get more golden, think Golder! Because new sweet and smoky special edition gold sauce is here. Made for your chicken favorites.
At participating McDonald's for a limited time.